To computer. Hello, Maddy, and welcome. This is Maddy Butcher, and the Mancos Public Library is thrilled to interview you again. We did a couple of years ago, but we have some new things to talk about today. Thank you for joining us, Maddy.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. Maddy's a veteran newspaper journalist who runs Cayuse Communications, which is really great. And she's written 5 books, including her newest release, which is Beasts of Being, Partnerships Unburdened. She also directs the Best Horse Practice Summit, which is a nonprofit educational conference. And she writes op-ed pieces about life in the rural West, which are also great. If you have a chance to read them, grab them. She writes for the Washington Post, but also I've seen your work in High Country News too.
Yes.
Yes. So Maddy was born and raised in Maine, where she enjoyed riding in the woods and the field of Hopswell's Neck and beyond. Maddy graduated from Brown University with a BA in biology and worked for years as a freelance reporter for the Boston Globe, the Wall Street Journal, and many other publications covering sports, travel, business, and front page investigative news. Wow. Maddy has also served faithfully as a board member at the Mancos Public Library. So hello, Maddy. How are you doing today?
Hello, Midge. So great to see you. And just to correct, I am the author of 3, not 5 books.
Did I say 5?
Yeah.
I think I'm maybe not caffeinated enough this morning. I apologize.
It
yes,
could
and
be.
I've read 2 of them and looking forward to reading the 3rd. So thank you for correcting me on that.
No worries.
I don't know where I pulled that 5 from, someplace. Maybe that's my number for today. I don't know.
Maybe it is, yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself, Maddy. When you were growing up as a child and a young adult, what were your dreams?
I think for most of my childhood, I wanted to be a vet. I just noticed that All Creatures Great and Small is coming back on air on PBS, and it was hilarious because I automatically went to reading All Creatures Great and Small, All Things Bright and Beautiful, and that was kind of where I saw myself until I got into college and realized I couldn't pass organic chemistry. So at the same time, I got a lot more interested in writing. I wrote for a little bit for school type newspapers, and then I kind of cut my teeth in the Providence Journal sports department as a cub reporter. So whether it was my failure to be a good chemistry student or just my gravitation towards just loving the written language, I'm not sure. I guess it was both.
Interesting. Very interesting. So when you were growing up, who was your hero or heroine? Who inspired you in your formative years?
I think, I think there are more people on the ground that were inspirational to me. Certainly my parents. My mom rode horses a lot. She grew up riding, and my dad, they're both very active outdoors, and that was just now I see that it was a very privileged way to live life, in terms of having those opportunities to get out and camp and hike and ride and run. And aside from getting a decent education, and in terms of heroes, yeah, I mean, I ran quite a bit when I was younger. I still run. And I remember Joan Benoit Samuelson, who was the first winner of the Olympic marathons back in Los Angeles, I think in '84. She was a total hero for me. And she went to Bowdoin, where my dad taught, and I was a bit of a faculty brat, as they call them. So I followed Joni Benoit Samuelson, who was back then just Joni Benoit, you know, and she inspired me, and running is what got me to Brown. So you know, I have that to thank for it. But So yeah, I hope that answers your question a little bit.
Definitely, definitely. I think having heroes or role models or mentors are so important. And Joni Benoit certainly would fit that. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Aside from her just being a very approachable person, she'd be the kind of person, you know, actually, as a journalist, I haven't interviewed her. However, I have just, you know, chatted with her after races, which, you know, that's what you really want when you have idols out there, is for them to show that they're just humans, just like the rest of us. So
that other dimension. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you are a magnificent writer and journalist. And I'm curious to know what drew you from that world, even though you're still writing, what drew you from the world of journalism to the world of horses?
So let's see, when was it? About 15 years or so ago, I moved from where my sons and I were living in Massachusetts back to Maine, and started a business taking care of other people's horses. It was called 24 Karat Horse Care. And I was going barn to barn, and I would do, you know, it's kind of like a dog sitter role, but for horses. But I also had to exercise them and medicate them. And I was seeing a lot of things that, for my newspaper background, I just was jonesing to write about. And that was how I started Knicker News, which was my very first website. I had no idea what maintaining a website was, or creating web pages, or establishing a newsletter. I think I had 16 friends and family that were signed up for my initial newsletter, which is now closer to 5,000 people. So it was a labor of love for a long, long time. And I just felt that there wasn't anything out in the horse community that was like what I wanted to put out, which is good information on the educational side. Of course, there are a lot of resources now, but 12 years ago, there weren't as many. And along the way, we covered, sorry, that's my dogs. We covered one of the largest animal cruelty cases in Maine. And I think some would say that because of our reporting, that those people were prosecuted. So we've done some good stuff over the years.
Absolutely.
And it just was a nice dovetailing of my love for horses with my love for writing. So
beautiful. Thank you, Maddy. So we've talked about Joan Benoit as being a role model when you were younger. Has that changed? Is there another role model that's kind of crept into your life as an inspiration as an adult?
What I am really gravitating to, at least in the last several years, has been collaborations and being part of a team. And I'm real lucky with my web publications to have contributors that send me articles. And that's kind of, I look to collaborators more than inspirational figures. Certainly, there are a lot of, say, writers that are doing great things. I just signed up for a class, actually. I have it right here with me. Speaking of George Saunders. So this is George Saunders, A Swim in a Pond in the Rain. And I really am gravitating, I find, to someone like George Saunders because he's a teacher. And what he does with this latest book is he publishes the 7 short stories by Russian masters like Chekhov. And then he discusses why those short stories are so amazing. And so it is not only nice reading and wonderful writing, but a tutorial too.
Instructional. And, yeah.
Right. And that's, I really gravitate to people who are part of the rising tide that lifts all boats. That's kind of,
I love that expression.
where I've been leaning lately.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, we just heard one of your dogs, and I've met them. They're fabulous. You have horses and dogs. Tell us a little bit about both of those companions, or maybe I should say they have you, which is really how it works. But
Yeah. I have a bit of a motley crew. Just this summer was the first time I've ever actually paid for a horse, because I'm getting a little more serious about stockmanship, and wanted a horse I can rope off of. And so I have a legit registered quarter horse. The other horses, two I brought from Maine. They're old campaigners. And then I have a rescue that I acquired in Mancus, actually, who is a old troubled soul, but he's coming along. So they range from about 13 and a half hands to 16 and a half hands, which for non-horse people, hand is 4 inches. So little to big, and age-wise from about 7 years old to probably about 30. So and then
and your dogs?
then I'm looking for the little puppy. Hold on, I'll get you the little puppy.
All right.
So I'm
Oh
fostering.
my gosh.
He just came to me. See, he's already really scared. He came to me from a real bad situation that Denkai Animal Sanctuary helped out at. So he's, my friends are joking that I'm not fostering. I might as well just sign the adoption paperwork now, but
That does
theoretically I'm
happen.
fostering him. And then I have, the past several years, I've been working on cow work with my dogs. So 2 of my dogs are working dogs, and we have been moving cattle as any opportunity we get, really. So that's keeping me honest and keeping my wallet rather thin, but it's well worth it.
But it's full of joy. And for anyone that's joining us today, Maddy is absolutely, positively a real Wild West cowgirl. I can't
Well,
tell you how many times I've been driving down the road and stopped for cows, and there's Maddy on one of her horses herding cows with her dog. So you're looking at a real live cowgirl, folks.
Well, I am working at it, and if I could drop everything that makes money and try to be a legitimate stock woman, then that would be great. But I know where my bread is buttered, and I'm just grateful to the cowboys around here as well as elsewhere that have let me help out, because I'm a work in progress. My horses are works in progress, and so are my dogs. So it's not, there's not a lot of ranchers who want a relative novice to come on board, because the possibility that they will create havoc is always there. And I'm just lucky that some guys have taken a chance.
Makes me smile. So Maddy, you have, if I'm correct on this, and if I'm not, please let me know, you've actually created the Horse Summit. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, I thought you were the mover and shaker on that one. Would you tell us a little bit about it, because it fascinates me. I've kind of followed you over the past few years. Tell us about this Horse Summit, please.
You bet. I'm pretty proud of it. Again, it's because of a group of really inspired and motivated and active people that it has succeeded. The Best Horse Practices Summit, I like to say, is TED Talks for horse people. And it is, so it's a 501c3 Colorado nonprofit, which in itself is, as any nonprofit organizer will tell you, is it's a big deal to pull together a board and get your bylaws in order and operate as a nonprofit. But what we offer is academic and arena presentations in a really beautiful setting. Usually we've had it twice in Durango. We've had it once in Maine and once in Kentucky. And in a, what I've come to know from working with horses and people is that you can't learn unless you're in a fun, relaxed, safe environment. So we try to optimize the environment, we cater it and have really good meals. And we opened the whole conference by saying, hey, this is going to be fun. If you have questions, ask. We have a dozen staff members all volunteer to help you be as comfortable and as taken care of as possible. So that was my observation when I've been at conferences or expos, that it's not necessarily fun or safe or easy to understand. And a lot of times those kind of expos, it's pretty clear, or sometimes it can be not so clear, but ultimately people have something to sell, which of course we don't, and we don't have an ulterior motive. And so that conference started about 5 years ago. We skipped a year because of the pandemic, but did have it last October, October 2021. And it's just gotten really, really positive reviews from people who have attended. And also, I should say, from presenters who come and just love the vibe that is there. I think a lot of horse clinicians and people who are going, kind of making the rounds of horse expos get discouraged that it's just like the hustle and bustle of a county fair and not very inspiring. And the summit is not that kind of place. We take care of our people, I think, and yeah, it's been a great ride. We've booked almost all our presenters, and presenters want to come back, which is exciting for me as a director. And to have people, to have presenters come forward and say, hey, I heard about this summit. I mean, that's really rewarding for me as a director. So that's it.
Awesome.
In a very discombobulated description.
No, it was perfect. It was perfect. And we will try to get this posted at the end of our video when we put it up on the website. But can you let people know how they can find out more online about your summit?
You bet. It's besthorsepracticessummit.org. And we have a Facebook page. So yeah, besthorsepracticessummit.org. And then Cayuse Communications, which is not part of the nonprofit, but is still the umbrella organization for my work, is cayusecommunications.com.
And you put a newsletter out regularly.
Yes. Every Thursday morning for the last 12 years. So.
Wow. Okay. So, Maddy, what are your dreams today? What do you dream about looking forward? What are your goals? What's your dream today?
So my immediate, I do a lot of, I have a big dry erase board, and I write both kind of inspirations as well as specific, very concrete goals to tackle. And I don't have any like huge, this is where I want to be in 20 years type goals, but I do have goals, which you notice I'm substituting goals for dreams, Midge, so I hope you don't mind.
It's perfect.
2 goals this year are to be a competent roper, which I've been practicing a lot, and I have some good people who are helping me like I said, to be confident, just to get to the point of roping a live calf would be amazing. And also learning Spanish. I read in some article, as we know, it's harder to learn as you get older. Your neuroplasticity is not what it was when you were a sponge and soaking everything in when you were younger. And I read somewhere that learning more than one thing and having those things be real disparate, like Spanish and roping, is a good way to learn. So that's what I'm after.
I love it. And I'm going to shamelessly put a plug in for the library because we're doing conversational Spanish 2 mornings a week, 2 mornings a month, the second and fourth Saturday from 10 to 11:30 with,
That's great.
gosh, it's at the website. I'm forget Jessica's her name, but she's a Spanish teacher. She's taught in Dolores, and I think it will just be fun. So I have to throw that out as a plug.
Awesome.
Maybe
That's
you'll
great.
join us for coffee and a few conversations.
Sí, señora.
Bueno. Okay, so you are prepared to share with us a couple of readings from your newest book today. You ready to do that? I love that cover.
Thank you.
I
My
love
son
it.
Joe took this.
Do you know what
Yeah.
it reminds me of? You know, the horseback librarians in Kentucky, some of their black and white shots.
Oh,
That's what
yeah.
it reminds me of.
Yeah. So this is in the fading pages of Beasts of Being. I wrote just this very quick note to my horse Barry, who I don't know. I'm going to show you the picture.
Oh.
He is my troubled Tennessee Walker who has just had a very rough start before he came to me, and it has been a very long road of kind of working away from that trauma. And so as a result, he's really sensitive. And sometimes I forget how sensitive he is and that I need to take more care. And this is kind of a note on that. And it came on the heels of, I think I was doing some work for a newspaper and they declined to take an essay or something. And so I was feeling hurt. It's called An Evening Ride. I almost need my glasses to read my own book. Okay. Rejection in a relationship or a work thing or whatever is a pretty sucky deal. Negative emotions pop in the fore pretty quick. Frustration, resentment, sadness. So you grab your horse and head out into the evening, except your horse scoots through the gate and then decides he doesn't like your hat, like really doesn't like your hat. Of course, it's not the dang hat. It's the bad juju you brought to the paddock and to the moment. So rather than jerk the line another time, you apologize and take a breath and thank him for the check. Since you started off wrong-footed, you got to spend most of the ride reassuring him that you are not a total jerk and that you really do work well together, up hills, through brush, across ledge. Gradually, he might come to agree, but letting him pause and graze still seems as though he's doing you a favor. Thanks, Barry. I needed that.
Beautiful. You know, it always amazes me, you talked about Barry's trauma, how horses, these huge beasts, thousands of pounds, how so many of them are abused. It always breaks my heart. And I mean, Medicine Horse works with some of those abused horses as well. Yeah, that was gorgeous.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of ways in which horses will show you they're troubled. I mean, there's certainly a lot of horses who go through most of their life just going through the motions and being obedient, but just doing what they need to do and more or less being shut down. And yeah, you know, the horses can either be real reactive like Barry is, where he'd rather be 100 miles away than working with you, or shut down, or something in between. And you know, to good horse people's credit, there are a lot of horses who don't have trauma. So this is just another one I selected to read, mostly because it's short, but also because it has a little bit from Wisława Szymborska, who's a late Polish poet and Nobel Prize winner, who I mentioned. So it is the afterword of my book. We are not the same writers or people we were a decade ago. Surely we hope we're better, but sometimes we can be oblivious to our shortcomings. What do you mean I'm writing crooked? What do you mean I raised my voice? This book has asked you to embrace doubt. And I'm not talking about the kind of doubt that's all hesitation and insecurity. I'm talking about inspirational doubt. Think of doubt as wonder, curiosity, experimentation, trial and error. Think of doubt as that unnerving, maybe daunting jumping off point that brings you to a new level of understanding and proficiency. One of my favorite poets, Wisława Szymborska, said she highly valued the little phrase, "I don't know." It's small, she said, but it flies on mighty wings. It expands our lives to include the spaces within us as well as the outer expanses. The journey to knowing is like a main back road, sometimes delightful, sometimes twisty and confounding, but always worth the trip.
Wise, wise words. Thank you so much, Maddy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here with us this morning. And as we wrap up, you may have already covered this, but aside from roping and Espanol, do you have anything on the burner for the coming few years? Like another
I
book?
would like to ultimately, well, I was talking with a nonprofit consultant who knows about my how diverse my interests are, and I said, well, ultimately I'd like to let the Best Horse Practices Summit fly on its own. And she said, well, part of stepping down from a position like that is finding your replacement. So that might be something that I do in the next few years, kind of, as nonprofit people will tell you, it's all about the funding. So
yeah, it sure is. Well, Maddy, thank you again for being here with us today. Any parting words for our community?
Oh, hang in there with the winter, y'all.
And maybe we'll get some more snow.
Drought conditions are only a few months away. No, I thank the Mancus Library for all it does. You know, I'm a huge fan of you guys, and keep up the good work. And patrons, keep up your presence at the library, because as someone who was at the library about 5 days a week for about 5 years, I'm a big lover of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Maddy. Thanks for everything.